From the great state of Texas, this is the latest episode of the ETX ROCKS Show. Nestled in the piney woods of East Texas, the ETX ROCKS Show delivers the stories and songs of talented artists of all genres, all styles, from the unheralded and unheard to the legends and beyond. We bring a passion for music and a drive to go behind the curtain with our guests. We focus on all artists, from LA to New York, Nashville down to Texas, and everywhere in between. ETX is our location, not a limitation. Now, as always, it's viewers and listeners like you out there that are our biggest support for the show. If you want to contribute to the show, please do so by donating to www.paypal.me/ETXRocks. And thank you for tuning in. Wherever you're tuned in, please hit the like, follow, and or subscribe buttons. And now for another great episode of ETX Rocks. Hey guys, Boston Chris here with the 8th episode of Songbirds and Troubadours presented by the ETX ROCKS Show, where we focus on the songwriter in Texas and beyond. The songwriter, in my opinion, is one of the most unheralded people in the entire music industry. And of course, I'm a huge fan of the songwriter. But this week, we've been waiting 8 weeks for this. I've known about this pairing for about 2 months. And when we started this show, Louise and I, my producer slash fiance, were just, throwing ideas against the wall. Who are the two best singer-songwriter males in Texas, or at least our favorites? And of course, it was Rob Redwine and Dan Johnson. And we're super stoked to have both of you guys here at the same time.
Yep.
I've been on record as saying in 2017 my favorite song was A Place to Call Home by Dan Johnson. I've also been on record as saying my favorite record recently in Texas is One Bullet Left by Rob Redwine.
Thanks, sir.
I don't say these things lightly in public. Usually I'm a little less specific when it comes to my favorites, but these guys are incredible, both from the Fort Worth area. So tell us a little bit about your hometown and your journey so far in music, Rob.
Fort Worth is one of the best towns for what I do. I think for what Dan does as well. We come down a similar lane as far as just songwriting, But there's a ton of great musicians and artists in Fort Worth, and there's no shortage of venues to be able to go and see music when you're not playing and be on stage almost every night in the world. I think you would totally agree with that.
It sucks to live in East Texas.
Not only in Texas, but in the United States. Just undiscovered talent all over the place there. So it's a great place.
By the dozens in Fort Worth, for sure.
Ryan Tharp, we were just talking about Ryan Tharp. He lives a block down from me. I mean, I could throw a rock and hit Ryan's house if I wanted to.
Wow.
It's just, you can't anywhere. Right. Yeah, anywhere in Fort Worth it's amazing to me when you just walk down the street and you're like, God, I know that guy and that guy. It's just hanging out and Cody Jinks walks in and you're just like, oh God, this place is just awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
And Fort Worth is like that. It's almost the new Austin now in Texas, I think. There's just so much undiscoverable talent.
Yeah.
Did I just make up another word? Undiscoverable?
Close enough.
We're using it.
Undiscoverable would be bad. That means you couldn't find them. No, they're discoverable.
Keep trying. Keep trying.
Undiscovered talent in Fort Worth. I say all the time to Louise that I want to live out there. Like, I see so many times that you're booked, or Skylar is booked, or Hannah Owens, or all of these other fantastic artists, and I can't go because I'm like 3 hours away. And that's 6 hours and drinking in between. That's just probably not very smart, But yeah, someday we're going to get out to Fort Worth for a weekend or something and just hang out with you guys.
Do it.
One of the things I really love about these two guys is the imagery that they possess within their lyrical compositions. The reason why I love One Bullet Left by Rob Redwine, Redwine and Roses is actually the name on the album, is because of the composition within the music. It's so intricate, it's so planned, but it takes you on a journey. And Dan, you're the same way with your imagery and your songs and just taking people to a place within your mind and conveying that to your audience. So I'm really excited about tonight on Songbirds and Troubadours, episode number 8. Guys, don't go anywhere. You're going to get 6 original songs from each one of these artists. In the middle of the episode here, we call it the question swap. These guys will ask each other a question or two. It'll be 2. They'll go back and forth on that as well. And then at the end of the show, if you guys are a venue or a fan that wants to know where you can follow along with these amazing songwriters, you can just go to the end of the show and we're going to make sure that we tag all of that stuff and they'll talk about their social media where you can buy their music and where you can book them at if you're a venue. So don't go anywhere. We have some awesome original music coming to you live from Rob Redwine and Dan Johnson. Don't go
I think what I'm going to do, we'll kind of lead off with here, is the first song that will be coming out on the new album. The album's called Hemingway, and the first song on that album is called The Favor. And it's a spooky song that came to me because the guy that was playing drums for me for quite a long time before I moved down to Fort Worth, back when I lived in Amarillo, he'd had this terrible nightmare. And we had a rehearsal, and he was just out of sorts and weird the whole time. And I was like, man, what's going on with you? He's like, oh man, I woke up and I had this weird nightmare. And he said, my girlfriend and I were walking through the swamp, and all of a sudden these guys jumped out, and they were going to do terrible things to her and then kill us. And he said, but right before it happened, the devil showed up and saved us. And he said, and I just can't get it out of my head why the devil would show up. I kept thinking maybe God would show up or an angel or something would show up, but the devil showed up and saved me. And he said, and it's really been messing with my head. And I said, shut up, I gotta write a song. So I hang out in Louisiana a lot, and so I'm kind of used to, you know, how swampy and grungy it can be down there. And then I grew up in a very religious family where half my family was ministers and the other half actually practiced black magic. I lived way up in the hills of Kentucky. And so I was always surrounded by a lot of things that had to do with mysticism and the fight between good and evil. So the story really spoke to me. And, so this song is called The Favor. Billy was a quiet one, preacher's son, hair black as midnight, eyes like the moon. Jenny was a sweet thing, swore she was an angel when he saw her in Sunday school. Billy was the new guy, so shy, took her 5 weeks just to get him to talk. He moved to Louisiana with his daddy, who was pastor in the 2nd Street Church of God. True love falls hard, couldn't keep them two apart, and Lord Billy loved that girl. They knew their folks would throw a fit, so they run away and got hitched, the two of them against the world. 40 miles out of town, summer sun was going down, that tiny diamond sparkled on her hand. Driving through the bayou, Jenny said she liked the view. They pulled off in a mangrove stand. Billy wrapped his arm around her, took a walk down by the water, thinking about that wedding night ahead. They came up on a fishing shack, shotgun leaning on the back, the Malvo brothers in the moonshine shed. They turned around and made some ground, but the brothers tracked them down, stopped when they heard that shotgun cock. The biggest one said, tie him up, we'll have our fun with her, then we'll feed her to the gators and make him watch. Billy looked down at his bride, saw the tears that poor girl cried, and Jenny started begging for their lives. The Malvo brothers closing in, evil with a black-toothed grin, hellfire lust in their eyes. Jenny turned to Billy, saw a look she'd never seen as he started singing something like a prayer. Then he reached down in his pocket for a hammered coin of silver, and she watched him as he flipped it in the air. Now as it spun into the sky, thunder rolled and angels cried, and darkness poured like blood out on the swamp. And there behind the Malvo brothers stood one who could be no other, took him by the hand and made him walk. As they stepped into the water, lightning flashed, the gators got them brothers' screams will drown in mud and blood. Then the darkness slipped away like a dream, just as you wake and silence fell around them as they stood. Jenny tried to hold it all together, but she couldn't tell just whether she was more relieved or scared. Rescued from the arms of evil by that sacrilegious savior, would her soul be damned or was it spared? Jenny tried to find the words to ask so much of Billy, till she turned and saw the look that was in his eyes. And all that Billy said was, babe, when the devil owes you a favor, you damn sure don't ask why. Baby, don't ask me why. Baby, don't ask me why. Jenny, don't you ask him why.
Sir.
Oh, thank you, brother.
Well done, man.
Thank you. Well, hey, I figured if I was going to come out here and show up with you, you're like the best storytelling songwriter that I know.
Stop that right now.
No, I'm serious, man. I dig that. I'll sit there and just like listen to all the stories that you tell through your songs. I love doing it.
I was you caught me off guard with the line about feed her to the gators and make him watch there.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, that's a good line right there.
It's a little dark.
I love dark songs, man.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of that kind of stuff, especially in a maybe not a personal, like I want to kill myself kind of way,
Yeah.
but just in a, I like bank robberies and I like gunfighters and things like that, and certainly things like this where the devil, shows up somewhere. Like I on my Daisy record, I wrote a song called "Dylan and the Devil," where Bob Dylan met the devil in Greenwich Village, and the devil wanted him to come and play at his bar, which was called Hell, and it was flames on the wall.
I don't think I've heard that one. I gotta hear that.
Yeah. Anyway, I got a new record coming out sometime this year too. Still trying to figure out what I'm going to call it. But this is a song I wrote. It's called 34 and Life Before. And it was one of those songs, you know how this is sometimes, where you get into a melody of a song and you just start somehow lyrics just show up out of nowhere, and they sound right, and you don't really know what the song really means. This is one of those songs I'm not really sure what's going on with this song.
Stuff just it's like I always say, it's like being a conduit. Yeah. It's like all of a sudden it's just you're sitting there in the right time. It's like something floats by. Yeah. It just comes out.
If you just let it happen versus forcing it, then it makes it so much better. And there's been a lot of people around Fort Worth that I've been playing with now. I've been playing this song for 3 or 4 months, and people like our friend T-Born Stearns and a couple other people said this is the prettiest song I've ever written. I was like, dang, that's a big compliment coming from a lot of people. So, this is called 34 and Life Before. This is a new one. Tell the truth and not the lie. Saw the stars up in the sky and found the forest right before the trees. Hit the door and gone before someone could ask me anymore how I could live with this inside of me. 34 and life before was gone before you wrote. Passed the time and spent my dime to see. Accidents in my defense, I played the truth, the consequence, and all I asked was someone to agree. If all the horses and all the men could not put that egg back again, then why the hell should they care about me? 34 and life before was gone before we rolled. Passed the time and did my crime to see. Then again, and in the end, misery loved the company man that I could never seem to want to be. The day I mold, I broke the mold, and all my songs were solid gold. I'll stand a chance to dance with destiny. The day I died, nobody cried, they sang my songs right by my side and toast the legends and the legacies. 34 and the life before was gone before you rolled, past the time of all my prime to see.
That's a pretty one. I love that one, dude.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's the stylistically, the thing that jumps out to me about the stuff that I enjoy from you so much is like when we're in like the music scene that we're in, right? Everybody's so accustomed to what ends up being radio popular, what ends up, headlining Billy Bob's and stuff. But the fact of the matter is, I think when you get anybody apart, everybody really enjoys, softer, more melodic, type of music anyway.
Yeah.
And like I grew up, on the one hand, I had my dad who did like, he played guitar and sang, but he was like all Skinner and Allman Brothers and stuff like that. And my mom was more like James Taylor and, Carole King and Anne Murray. So Jim Croce.
Yeah.
And so like somewhere in the middle of that with the Southern roots and then the beautiful songwriting, the melodies, like the kind of music that I enjoy from you and the kind of music that I try and endeavor to play myself is, it's somewhere in the middle, man.
Yeah.
I
agree.
There's not really necessarily a good name for it other than just singer-songwriter type music. That's a beautiful one.
Yeah, I was happy when I heard that you and I were doing this deal, because I think we both have multiple influences, and not that there's anything wrong with the country side of the house, but we just live in a very country-rich town.
Right.
There's a lot of red dirt there and everything else. And I mean, they could throw us in the red dirt if they wanted to, or whatever else, but we have a lot of influences that are span the board, from rock and roll to blues to folk music, James Taylor across the board and everything else. And that's where I think you do too. I don't really, if a song comes out, I'm going to write that song. And it doesn't matter what genre it is. I mean, a good song's a good song, so. I think you do that a lot too.
And I think that's one of the things that's so lucky about being like where we're at is that, when we were talking earlier on about what question we want to ask, I have a very specific question that I want to ask you that kind of goes down that path, because it's a curious place to live where whatever song you want to make, we live in a place where people just want to hear what you have, and maybe it comes out as like raunchy honky tonk, or maybe it's so pretty and melodic, and I don't know. I feel fortunate to be doing what we're doing, even if it's not necessarily the easiest, way to do it.
Absolutely.
I think what I will do, what I'm going to do because of that? I'm going to do, so I was saying I got this new album coming out in April, but I've already got all the demos done for the album after that. And the album after that is, it's going to be called Heartache. And it literally details the heartaches of my life and what I learned from them. So it's themed. It's not themed as heavily as Hemingway is, but the idea is what have I learned from all the heartache in my life? And so this is one of the songs that it made me think of that just now. It's called Along the Way.
I suppose that I don't know how many lives I've lived before, whether I've done wrong or right along the way. But you think by now I'd learn how to keep from getting burned. Should've gained that wisdom long before today. So maybe it's not that I don't know, but more that I don't care. I know full well my heart can break when I put it all out there. I'd rather be a fool tomorrow than a coward any day. I'll always risk the pain for the love along the way. My mama did her best to separate me from the rest. All she wanted me to live my life out loud. So I gave everything I have, twice the good and half the bad. I don't know about tomorrow, I'll take now. Yes, I know I'll stumble off and sometimes hell I'll fall. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I'll take it all. I'd rather be a fool tomorrow than a coward any day. I'll always risk the pain for the love along the way. I think back on the goodbyes that left this sadness in my eyes, when I was just too much or not enough. But I wouldn't change a thing for all the arrows and the slings you suffered. They're worth their weight in love. And if I'd held back anything, I'd surely lost it all. The fastest route to missing out is hiding behind your wall. I'd rather be a fool tomorrow than a coward any day. I'll always risk the pain for the love along the way. Yeah, I'll always risk the pain for the love along the way.
Done, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Great message in that song, man.
That was one of those ones where I wasn't quite sure how to, if you wanted to pull in fiddles and mandolin and stuff, you could make it kind of a cool little acoustic number, or we could just big drums and big electric guitars. And that's the funny thing about writing music is that you don't, I guess you can just do whatever you want with it, stick it on whatever kind of album you want.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
And the more and more you play around with it too, you hear your own instrumentation coming out sometimes too, and sometimes it's like, I can do that differently there and do this,
Yeah. Hey, have you like produced your own albums as you're going through? Gotcha.
Yeah, I've worked with several producers, but I've always had the final say, and usually I'll go into it. There's always on every record. There's a couple of songs I'm like, sky's the limit on this. Do what you want to do. I want to hear your ideas. But then there's a lot of them I'm like, I've got to have piano on that. I've got to have this on that.
Yeah, gotcha. Nice. Yeah, that's one of those things that I learned after the first album. I went through a producer that very much guided. I had written every song on the album, but he very much guided the way that it turned out. So I brought one of my favorite songs on the album. I brought in as a piano song. He's like, no, that won't fly. Nobody will like that. We're gonna make that a guitar song, So now when I play it on stage, I've gone back to playing it on the piano because that's the way I wrote it and the way that I wanted it.
Yeah.
But I gave up a lot of that control, and with the idea being that it was going to be a very radio friendly album with lots of things that could be a single.
Sure.
And I'll be damned if like nobody cared, Yeah. So I was like, well, hell, for that matter, I may as well have just done it the way I wanted to from the beginning. So
yeah.
Sometimes there's tough lessons to learn.
That's a great point too, because I don't know if you're this way or not, but I'll go in the studio thinking this song right here is going to be the song on that record.
Yeah.
And it turns out not being the song on that record. It's like, what's going on here, man?
Yeah, there's so little of this stuff that we get to choose, man. You just get to show up every day and do your best. That's about it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Just write it. This is I hope this is going to be the song on that next record. I wrote this song. There's multiple backstories to this song right here, but I wrote this song as kind of wanted it to be a rock and roll-y, bluesy. Somebody could take it and do a country song with it too, because it fits in all those categories like that and everything else. But I've never been very good at doing happy love songs.
Yeah.
You know, like it's hard to write love songs when you're just in love and everything is great. But weirdly enough, this past 6 months or so, I've been able to do that for
You're a happy
songs.
dude, man. Every time I see you out, you got the biggest smile on your face.
Well, you are too, Mister.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of my questions too. We'll get there in a little while.
Right.
But so anyway, this is a kind of backhanded happiness. You know, it's gonna talk about prison.
Yeah.
But it's a happy prison. It's, you know what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
So this originally was titled Delilah, and I had the word Delilah in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, that's a cool name for a song. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, if I ever want somebody to cut this song or whatever else, I need to change that. It just doesn't sound right. So I just changed that to My Darling.
Yeah.
And so anyway, my girlfriend suggested that I call this Won't Let Go, because that's the basic hook of this whole song. So this is called Won't Let Go. Clear the throat. If I told you that I miss you, would you say I was a fool? If they wrote the book on loving you, would I be breaking all the rules? When they call up all the witnesses, none know what they saw, would I still float up the river, dear, when I never broke the law? I'll tell you it ain't easy. Loving you's a crime. I've been locked up sometimes before, but I ain't getting out this time. So lock me in this prison, I'll be serving on death row. These four walls of a heart that won't let go. Well, I guess I did it this time, as they read me all my rights. And when the judge and jury sentence me, tell my mama not to cry. Would you be my alibi if I asked you to? 'Cause when they ask me to confess my crimes, I'm going down for you. Tell you it ain't easy. Loving you's a crime. I've been locked up sometimes before, but I ain't getting out this time. So lock me in this prison, I'll be serving on death row. These four walls of a heart that won't let go. Spare you the solo part because
I can't believe
I can't solo. So they lay me on the table and the needles in my vein. I fell in love with you and now I'll never be the same. So pray for me, my darling. Tell my friends to wish me well, and I hope I go to heaven, 'cause they don't want me in hell. I'll tell you it ain't easy. Loving you's a crime. I've been locked up sometimes before, but I ain't getting out this time. Lock me in this prison, I'm serving on death row. These four walls walls of a heart that won't let go. These four walls of a heart that won't let go.
That was cool. You know, one of my favorite things about good songwriting like that is juxtaposition, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, you have a sad song that comes out sounding happy.
Yeah.
You know, or a really happy song that comes out sounding dark and gritty. And
Right.
I love like I guess the dichotomy of those two things juxtaposed together. And I think that is a very cleverly written song.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Sitting there and I had this whole song idea in my mind. I was going to piggyback on what we were just talking about, and then I realized that there's no way I can get up that high right now. It's brutal, man. Like when you make your whole living singing, and then all of a sudden you can't sing, and you're just like, oh God, what do I do?
Yeah. I kind of like it when I get the cold voice, actually.
Get a little
Sounds
raspy.
all sexy.
Yeah. That's that old Phoebe on Friends.
Yeah, I was just about
My
to say
sexy
that.
phlegm. Yeah, that outdoor show last week just wiped me out, man. It was
What's
one
going
too
on,
many.
man?
Yeah, this has been like the roughest season I can remember, man. Okay, so speaking of seasons, I had this whole other song I was going to go to, and now I'm just going to go a totally different direction. So I love coming down, like, you know, Tyler, Longview into Shreveport, because when I get back to Louisiana, it just makes me super happy. So the song that I was going to sing is a love song, and so we were talking about love songs. That was like one of my only like happy love songs I ever wrote. And the problem is that I'm a married man now, and a lot of the songs that I sing were about prior relationships. And so my wife has a real tendency to sit in an audience and people say, oh my God, is that song about you? And she'll go, no, that's not about me. So she said, I can't believe you've never written me a song. And I actually had, but she didn't know that I had. So I did write her a song, and after I played it for her, she's like, oh my God, that totally is our life. But anyway, and since I can't sing that one today, I'll sing the first one that was inspired. She took me down to Louisiana to meet her family. She's born and raised down there. And I'd never been before. It was just absolutely beautiful. And this was when we started talking about this bad reputation I had. Well, I was married before and found out that my significant other was having an affair, and I ended up getting in a fight with the guy that she was with, who happened to be my guitar player. And it was a bad fight, and I ended up going to jail for a while for it. And so I got out of jail and trying to put life back together, and she and I were friends at that point in time, and she said, well, go down to Louisiana with me. I got some family stuff going on. You just come down and hang out and kind of clear your head. I said, all right, cool. And I went down there and it rained for 3 days straight. I played 2 shows while I was there. It was just raining nonstop. But the funniest thing that happened was that like I was standing there in the rain and it was almost like washing off all the crap, you know, that I'd been through. And so the last day I sat in the rain, just getting soaking wet, and sat there without a guitar or anything, and just wrote this song in my head. It's called The Louisiana Rain. Looks like it's been a wet year. The river's wild and wide, and the weatherman says there ain't no end in sight. Well, the folks here say it's been so great, the whole place got the blues. But it's the sweetest thing I've seen for a long, long time. And there's too much damned emotion waiting back from where I came. I can't feel the pain in the Louisiana rain. Came down from Amarillo a few days ago to try to find a little rest for a weary soul. The pine trees, the oak leaves, a little zydeco. I reckon I'll be here a while before I go. And there's too much damned emotion waiting back from where I came. I don't feel the pain in the Louisiana rain. Louisiana rain washing down on me, falling in my eyes so I can't see. The girl who broke my heart, oh, the man I used to be. All the gentle, sweet refrain of the Louisiana rain.
winter got a little crazy. She ran off with him. But I had some time to think in the county jail. Now the spring is here, the best time of year to heal a broken heart. And the steady rain on the Poncha train's a real good start. Louisiana rain washing down on me, falling in my house so I can't see. The girl who broke my heart, oh, the man I used to be. All the gentle sweet refrain, Louisiana rain. Louisiana rain washing down on me, falling in my house so I can't see. The girl who broke my heart, oh, the man I used to be. All the gentle sweet refrain of the Louisiana rain. All that gentle sweet refrain of the Louisiana rain.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, man.
Gracias.
That is pretty. Real pretty.
So
I love a good pinch harmonic on a guitar, man. I've wrote a couple of songs like that when you just can pinch a couple of strings together and everything else like that. The sound is just so rich and full and everything.
I've always envied those guys that do a lot of the open tuning, open string stuff,
Yeah.
where they get a lot of that. A lot of the hammer-on pull-off stuff that just, I don't know, it's something different from what we're so accustomed to hearing. Like you go back and forth. You've got, one of the things that I've said about your music in the past is that you have a rhythmic and stylistic approach that is familiar enough that it's nice listening to without it being predictable. You know what I mean? Like you're going to blend a walking chord progression with, it lends itself so well to the songwriting that you do, and that's one of the things that I really enjoy. I can't stand it, like just like straightforward 3-chord, predictable stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you can't tear that apart. Can't you do better than that?
Yeah.
But that's one of the things I enjoy about your songwriting too. Is that like, you'll tear it apart and do better than that. You know? It's just there's a lot more going on.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that a lot. That's sweet of you to say, man.
I dig your music.
Who doesn't?
That's no secret. Yeah, who doesn't? Yeah, that's no secret.
This is another new song, and then I'll play one or two old ones here in a minute. This is this song didn't make it on the Daisy record. The Daisy record came out in October, and I had originally wrote this song called "Lump in My Throat," but I didn't like the chord progression of it, and I couldn't. I just couldn't sing it right. It just wasn't sounding right, so I just tabled it and left it alone and everything else. But the symbolism in the song was so good, I was like, I gotta figure out how to do that song. And so I had this idea of a relationship, probably from my last relationship or whatever, of this burned out house, and there's a picture of the two of them that was left in the ashes of the house and everything else. And mixing that all in with these words that I just can't say and everything else when talking about that relationship and everything else. So I just blended it all together and made a lyrical spaghetti out of the song, basically, or whatever.
When you're talking about photographs, I'm just thinking about like a photo, like montage or collage kind of a thing. So
yeah,
cool.
Anyway, this is called "Lump in My Throat." 3, 2, 1. They look my way, I just look down. No one's got time for another sad clown. I saw the flames before they were doused, the I found our picture in the ashes of our house, yeah. I can't breathe, but the door's open wide. God help me, baby, I'm trapped inside. They look my way, can see it in my eyes. No one's got time for another goodbye. And I felt the flood as it washed over me. Then I found our picture floating off to the sea. I'm drowning, baby. Lord knows I can't swim. I'm treading water, but I'm slowly sinking in. I'm choking on the right words to say. And this lump in my throat just won't go away. Yeah, won't go away.
I like the imagery of that a lot. Did you listen to a lot of Bob Dylan? Was that like an influence in you?
He's there.
Yeah.
Definitely, he's up there. But
yeah, who do you put in that like top three kind of?
I mean, I know Towns was up there for me a lot, but I was in more of a modern songwriter types. Like Joe Purdy is a real big one of mine. Amos Lee's probably up there somewhere.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people I get influences from songwriting wise.
You know, I never really got as much into Amos Lee until I started hanging around all you guys.
Yeah, Skylar is.
Yeah, he gets covered a lot.
Our friend Skylar Payne, for those that don't know, he's a very big fan of Amos Lee.
Yeah.
He covers some of his songs and stuff like that.
And the funny thing about it is, like, he'll be playing a song, and I'll assume it's his because it sounds so much like his style. And I'll go, no, that's an Amos Lee song.
Yeah.
Oh, crap, I didn't know that. Yeah, I don't know. How long have you been in Fort Worth? Are you like a born and raised kind of boy?
Yeah, I was born in Grand Prairie, which is just about 15 miles from Fort Worth.
Okay,
and, but I've lived in Fort Worth proper now for 22 plus years or so, maybe 20 years.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I wish I'd have known what was going on a long time ago. Since, I played music in Amarillo for a long time, but I was traveling back and forth down here all the time.
All right, guys, so you've just been watching 6 original songs by 2 of the best songwriters that Texas has to offer, in my opinion. Man, Rob Redwine and Dan Johnson on the same show. Can you believe that, y'all? Only here on Songbirds and Troubadours, and as you guys might know if you've watched a prior episode, we like to have the artists ask themselves questions. Now, these guys have been asking each other questions pretty regular throughout the show, so I'm curious what they've been saving for the question swap. And without any further ado, we're going to get right into that. So y'all don't go anywhere. We're going to have 2 questions each from each artist to the other, and then we're going to be back with more live music right after that, so don't go anywhere.
All right. So we've been asking a bunch of questions. I have 2 questions that I really want to know. The first one is you have been at this a while.
Yeah.
You got how many like actual albums or EPs have you put out so far?
5 that are out right
5
now.
are out,
We're
and 1 on the
working
way,
on 6,
right?
yeah.
So you've got some under your belt. If you were going to go back and do something differently, what would you have done differently early on that might put you something that you thought back and thought, gosh, I wish I'd have learned that lesson sooner?
Yeah. Not only on the first record, but I would say even on the Flatline record, but we went in hardcore on the first record, myself and a good friend of mine, Thomas Flynn, who was one of the best sound guys and actually best producers out there. We went in hardcore of just a very stripped down, kind of folky kind of record for the Riverboat Gambler, and as such, there were no effects on it whatsoever. It was real dry and everything else. And at the time, I mean, we all look back on our first record and kind of, I could have done that one better and everything else. I couldn't sing for crap back then. I probably still can't sing for crap right now. But the songs were great, and they needed more of something. I'm not sure what that something is, but one of these days I'm going to do a greatest hits and probably do a 20 song 2 CD or CDs are probably of the past now, but 20 song kind of record or whatever else, and just have everything from, because there's 3 songs on the Riverboat Gambler that I still play to this day all the time: Diabolical, Devil Girl, and The Losers. And that's another thing too, is the fact that like you've certainly written a lot of songs. I know there's some that you've forgotten and everything else, and I get that a lot when I'm at shows. Even the other night I was at a show and somebody asked me to play Boy Scout, and I'm like,
don't even remember how to play it.
I got no idea how that song goes anymore. I just haven't listened to it anymore, and that's I feel bad for that sometimes, because some of those songs are really good songs, and I want to give them life again, because they're just dead and they're just rotting in a closet right now or whatever else, So, there's lots of. That's a great question, man. Because there's lots of every record I've learned something else, ways that I want to put it together, different instrumentations of things. And a lot of that revolves around the lyrical composition of it, because you've certainly been in the studio a lot. You get in there and you're singing a line different compared to a live crowd. Yeah. You're just singing through the song and everything else, right? But you get in the studio and they hit the record button and everything else, and you realize, I don't like that line, and then you want to change it and everything else. That has happened on the fly a million times in the studio, and that's another lesson learned from that too, is to be able to go and change it and not affect the dynamic of the song and everything else.
Yeah, being willing to be flexible.
There's lots of them. It's
yeah.
I'm sure you got tons of them too.
Well, I'm fascinated by. I love being in the studio. I mean, I love writing songs, and so because I love writing songs, I love getting them recorded so I can hear how they flesh out. Plus, like I said, I've got this whole thing in my head about where I can hear all the instrumentation and how it all fits together, and so then I love being in the studio and trying to make all that happen. But it's also a very frustrating pursuit, being in the studio, because if I had the money to sit there for a month, and work on stuff, like the big bands used to do, you got like Zeppelin or the Beatles or something, where they're like, okay, we got the whole studio building for the entire month. Yeah. That would be one thing. Yeah. But it never really works out that way for us. So I'm always trying to figure out, okay, what are the lessons that maybe I can learn to shorten my learning curve when I want to go back? Because like I said, I've already got the next album in the chamber, and I'm like, okay, well, what do I want to learn from this one and I want to go back and do? So, all right, your turn, shoot.
You had inadvertently answered this question, and I didn't even ask it earlier, but we were talking about you being recently married and everything else. And the lead-in question was going to be how's married life now, which I'll still ask, but the follow-up question to that is, have you found it easier to write songs, and what songs have you written for her, or just in love in general?
That's a cool question. It's an interesting experience because as quickly as I can explain it, I met my wife Lauren as friends, and she was one of the only. I lost a lot of friends when I went to jail because it was such a huge split up. Because there were so many friends that were involved that had to choose sides, blah, blah, blah. And she really stuck by me. And so we stayed friends, and then later started dating, and then one thing led to another until we were together. But then soon after that, I had to move. So I left, and we tried to do the long distance thing. It wasn't going to work. So we broke up for a little bit and decided that sucked. So we got back together and did long distance for a year. And finally I went, I want to get serious about this. Let's do this. And so I proposed to her so that we could buy a house together and actually stop doing the long distance thing and go through everything to be together. And so honestly, we've been apart, not living in the same place for 2 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So when we moved in, we were actually just beginning again almost, but we were married. So it was a real weird experience. And thankfully, it's been an exceptionally joyful experience. When you've been through that much crap on the front side, her meeting me when I was at my lowest, us going through the breakup, us going through a year and a half of long distance, only seeing each other once for a couple of days every 3 weeks.
Makes you strong.
You know what you can get through. And then you're not scared. You don't have those tentative footsteps of, is this going to work out? I know it works out because I've been doing it this long, and that part's really cool.
Yeah.
And that makes me happy. Now, as that pertains to writing, the most recent songs that I've written are so far from the stuff that I started off writing, partially because I think I got a lot of my early stuff out of the way. A lot of the really sophomoric, predictable rhymes and stuff, I refuse to let that shit happen anymore. And the other thing is that now I'm in a household where it's me and her, and she's got a little boy that goes back and forth between us and his dad. I've got my daughters, and my daughters are at all different ages. I got one that'll turn 14 in 2 days. I've got one that's 21 and one that's about to be 23 who lives in Germany, for crying out loud. Yeah. And so the world around me has changed vastly since I started writing music.
Sure.
And I can't believe, now I'm writing a lot of stuff on the piano, and the songs that, I don't know if you've seen anything like I posted on YouTube or anything, but it's got a totally different feel to it. And I'm finding myself digging way deeper into my own emotions and feeling more comfortable letting them out into music. Where early on I played that song Along the Way, and it was an emotional song, but it's like tiptoeing into the water. It's like, you can say, it's tough, but it's all worth it for the love along the way. Some of the stuff that I'm doing now, like the Hemingway album, I'm just like, there's a song in there called Lone Gunman's Lament that I literally wrote while I was considering suicide. I mean,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm dumping out hard stuff right now. And it makes me happy because it's turning out pretty well, and it's a lot of chord progressions and stuff that sometimes you ever write a song and then go back and think, I don't think I wrote that. I don't think I would have come up with that. And it's a lot of that stuff going on right now. So it's been cool, man. All right, so here's my question for you, because my daughter asked this of me the other day, and it really got me thinking. If all this works out exactly like you would want it to, okay, what would your life look like, 5-10 years from now, if everything happens the way that you want it to with your music?
Grammy Award sitting on my mantle.
Yeah, I got you.
Or multiple Grammy Awards sitting on my mantle. But I'm realistic. I know it's probably not going to be me performing the songs.
Gotcha.
But I would certainly like the Grammy for writing the songs.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing my best to just make contact with as many people as I can that know the right people that are putting some of these songs in people's hands, and had some really cool experiences so far with a few of them, and I hope that just keeps going and going and going. I would seriously love to just be a truly professional singer-songwriter forever, and then the happiness of all that. Obviously the house and the white picket fence again with my lady and being able to there's something about having your own personal home recording studio and everything else. I would certainly like to one day be in that boat and everything else. But I do. I've been honored very much to go and play at some really big time songwriter festivals. And again, those are coming up again this year, one of which is the Smoky Mountain Songwriter Festival in Gatlinburg.
Cool.
And there are some big time songwriters out there that I did not know the first year that I went. I've been 4 years now. And just a quick story about it. One in particular, the first year I was there, I made the mistake of getting in town on Friday night when I had my first show. They that year they had me play 2 shows. One was a Friday night and one was a Saturday day show. But the Friday night show was my own solo show. The Saturday day was a round with 3 other guys. But the Friday night show, I got there and got in town, got in my hotel and everything else, and then had walked over with my guitar and stuff to the venue that I was playing at. There was a guy on stage. I got there an hour before to catch his set and everything else, and so I went up to the bar and grabbed a drink and everything else. There's 30, 40 people in there just eyes glued on this guy, man. I was like, oh man, this is cool. This is
what we want.
I was hoping that this was going to be like this.
Yeah.
And he was an older guy, late 60s, early 70s, whatever else. So he's going through all of his songs and everything else. Beautiful singer, beautiful player. You could tell he's been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
And he got to his last song and he started to tell the story of the song and everything else. And everybody started clapping and everything else. I'm like, what is this guy going to play?
Right.
And he plays A Love Without End, Amen.
Yeah.
His name is Aaron Barker.
Yeah.
And I was just floored because I'm like, I gotta follow that guy? No way, man. This is not cool. And sure enough, man, I played my 45-minute set, and he stuck around the whole time at a table right beside me by himself and just watched my set. And I got done, packed my stuff up, and he came over, and still to this day, him saying this is one of the coolest things. But he said, "The world needs more songwriters like you, Rob." Cool. I'm like, "Oh my god!" I was falling to my knees. It was like so cool. And so anyway, the next year I met some once again fantastic people that have wrote some Garth Brooks hits, some George Strait hits at that festival. And it's just been a very cool experience. And as such, playing that festival, I've gotten invited to some other festivals now. There's a 30A festival and Dripping Springs and a couple of others. And that would be my biggest dream right there, is just to be able to write songs and just go hit festivals all year long and just play those songs and everything else. And it's just, that would be living the dream for me.
Right on.
What was yours? And that's not my question, but what would...
It was pretty similar. Like my goal, what I'm working toward right now is basically playing fewer shows. I really enjoy performing my music, and I enjoy orchestrating a band around me. As much as I enjoy sitting here with an acoustic guitar, what I really like is because I like writing the music for everybody else and making all that happen. But you can't do that unless you can play like theater style shows,
sure,
right? And so I look at the Jason Isbells of the world. The Sturgill Simpsons of the world, Ryan Bingham, as opposed to playing in traditional bar type venues, my real goal is theater type venues where I can have a backing group and play fewer of those and spend more time with my family. Because right now I did 200 shows last year, man. I know you're the same way.
Yeah.
So that's, you average 4 a week, and that's in the middle of the night. You got to sleep sometime, and then there's like all the promotion work that you do, and the album recording, like, it's just, this is the hardest I've ever worked at anything, and I love it. It's the hardest job I ever loved. But there's never a week goes by I don't work 80 hours.
Yeah.
You know how it is. And so that's one of my goals, is to be able to put out enough good music and building a loyal enough following that if I'll only play a certain number of shows per year, people will travel a little further and pay a little more to come have that experience.
Sure.
So I can back off a little bit, honestly. And other than that, like, I still want to live in my same. I love my house in Fort Worth. I got no intention of leaving there, you know. And so, other than spending more time at home, chilling out a little bit, and less time, you know, road dogging, that's about it. And so that's why I'm pushing so hard on this album, because I'd really like to get it to, say, Grammy level. You know, I'd really like to get to the next album pushed out to people who are looking for that type of music.
Sure.
It's not for everyone.
Yeah.
It's just not for everyone. You know, it's not.
Yep.
My little bonus son, he was talking, he was like, why don't you have more YouTube followers? I said, let me show you. I said, the guy right now in the world who's number one at what I do, his name's Jason Isbell. I said, here's how many YouTube followers he has. He has 125,000 or so. I said, now pull up one of your gaming, you know, your guys that just play the video games and tape and you know, record themselves doing it, right? And it was like 2.3 million followers or something crazy like that, right? And I was like, that's the difference between popularity. Like, it's a smaller group of people that like what I do. And so the most I could ever aspire to, basically, is to be on that level. And that's what they get the chance to do, is play fewer shows, you know, whether it's big festival shows or theater shows. Sure. So that's my goal, man. That's what I'm looking for.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so now my actual question. I'm sure you get this some when we do shows like this. It is the question of, and I'll put it a few different ways for you, because I get this question all the time, is what is your favorite song you've ever written? And I'm like, oh my God, that's like me naming my favorite kid, you know. I can't do that. But you still have to answer the question in whatever way I try to divert from it, or just, you know, go. But lyrically or instrumentally, I like to just keep it in the back of my mind. So you got any that you would
I've got to
consider?
stand up. I've got the one that both lyrically, it's the hat trick, man. The trifecta. Lyrically, I'm really pleased with the way that it turned out, and it had a cool story behind it. Instrumentation on it is innovative, and I'm not embarrassed to say it. And the story behind where I was at in life and what it meant to me to write it, all three of those things came together in one song.
Oh, cool.
And it's called All You've Got to Lose. And the quickest story behind it was, while I was in jail, I was sitting at lunch one day, and this guy wrapped his hands around my shoulders, and I was like frozen, like freaking out. And then he stuck his head down next to me, and I was just thinking, dude, this is about to get real ugly. And he said, Dan, what are you doing in here? And it was a buddy of mine. And he sat down and we talked it all out. And I told him what had happened. I told him how like nasty bad the fight I got in was and why I was in jail. And he looked at me and he said, you know, man, life's only made of all you've got to lose. And we just had this very like wisdom-filled conversation about, when you get out of here, what did you learn from this? And what are you going to do differently with your life? And he said, you decide the things that are the most important to you, and you fight for them when you get out of here. And you don't ever compromise on those things. And I came out knowing that my family and my kids and music were the only things in this world that I gave a damn about.
Sure, man. And
I would fight like hell to make sure that I kept those sacred.
Yeah.
And so I sat down and I wrote this song, All You've Got to Lose, that came out of that. And
that's powerful.
If one of these days I'll be very dead and very gone. And I kind of hope people will associate that song with the message that I had to put out there.
Awesome.
So, thank you for asking.
Great story, man. Great story.
All right, guys, so that was Question Swap between Rob Redwine and Dan Johnson. And without any further ado, we're going to get right back into the original music, so y'all check it out. 6 more original songs.
Hi, I'm Heather Little. Thank you for tuning in to ETX Rocks.
I'm going to do a song that one of these days will end up on an album, but it has not. I don't even play it live very often because I have to totally retune my guitar to do it. And secondly, it's weird because it's a dedication on Mom, and I actually wrote it in Fort Worth on the back patio of Mag's, Magnolia Motor Lounge. And it was during a concert, a CD release concert, and the band manager for this band was a woman who was running around like 1,000 miles an hour, just like wearing herself out. And the band's all up on stage and they're having a great time and they're getting lots of glory, and you can see how hard she works to keep all this stuff together, you know what I mean? And so I just got to thinking about how often that happens, and immediately I thought about my mom and, you know, everything she went through raising me and like all the dark times that I went through, and how often you'll end up with a son or a husband or whatever who gets lots and lots of attention and praise when there's a very, very strong woman who's holding it all together. So anyway, I wrote this song called The Golden Heart. I'd never written a song for my mom before, so I figured I better make it a good one.
Awesome.
Tell me, Mary Magdalene, did you get your old job back again when the fella you were following was gone? Did the beauty of your faith replace the error of your ways, or did this world push you right back where you were from? Can you mend the tears and tatters as we rip the cloth apart? Can you sew the seams together, wear up the gold that's in your heart? Oh, oh. Oh, the gold is in your heart. Well, the ruler wasn't fair from his pedestal up there as he ran around for all the world to see. But I watched the calm and quiet queen crawl across the limousine just to pick up pieces of her shattered king. Can you mend the tears and tatters as we rip the cloth apart? Can you sew the seams together, wear up the gold that's in your heart? Oh, 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 the gold that's in your heart. You hold strong as they're pushed down. It's hard to see 'cause there's no polish on your crown. And for all the grime and nursery rhymes and troubled times you've seen, you hold the world together at the seams. Mama, how you hurt when I got what I deserved from years of all my selfish, stupid ways. But you picked me up again just like when I was a kid, and you brushed me off, and here I am today. You mended tears and tatters as I ripped the cloth apart, and you sewed my seams together, wear the gold that's in your heart. Oh, 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 the gold that's in your heart. You hold strong as they push down. It's hard to see 'cause there's no polish on your crown. And for all the grime and nursery rhymes and troubled times you've seen, you hold the world together at the seams. Yes, it's the gold that's in a woman's heart that makes the thread you see, that holds the world together at the seams.
Yeah.
I heard John Mellencamp one time say something about you should keep a song simple and keep it small, and but I know where he was coming from as far as that goes, as far as writing something that would maybe be either a catchy to the listener or something that, you know, somebody would cut or anything else like that. But I'm a huge fan of complexity in songs. There's a lot of complexity in that song right there, because there's multiple parts going on, you know, different cadences and everything else like that. I love good complexity like that, and it was very tastefully done, you know, very tastefully put together, man. It was really pretty. Really pretty.
That means a lot to me coming from you. And there's from I've learned from people talking to songwriters, there's two ways people tend to write songs. either like we talked about before, you like open up the conduit, the floodgates open, it's like brah, you know, there's like everything pours out, and that song poured out, like literally just sitting there, just, you know, all the way out. And then there's those songs that you sit down and you've got a pile full of notes. And I know one songwriter who he writes individual notes on individual pages of all these journals. And when it comes time to, okay, I got to put some stuff down, he just plucks pages.
Piecemeals, yeah.
Yeah, and so all
too.
of the songs, they're not disjointed, but they don't seem to relate that much to each other. But when you put them together, it's like, wow, that was just really beautifully done.
Yeah.
And his explanation is, I think all these things are just constantly floating around in my mind, and it's probably one song, but I'm just thinking about too many things at the same time. And I've been curious about, because you do so much to your storytelling, like when you're sitting down and writing a lot of your music, you know, like a moonshiner, you know, like are you sitting there putting a lot of time and research into, you know, how you want it all to lay out? Are you developing those stories, or is this just kind of it just?
Yeah, especially on that one, the idea was pitched to me of a picture on a wall, which is the first line of the song, and that, I mean, that, for the most part, that was it. My friend Aaron Lee Bentley and I wrote that together, but I pretty much wrote it. He just was kind of an idea man, throwing ideas at the wall and everything else. But he's absolutely still 50%, you know, songwriting credit on the song, because I mean, all the ways that I went through that song were pitched back to him, and he, you know, how about you try this and this and this. So, but anyway, back to the song itself, because I have no knowledge of moonshining whatsoever, you know, other than a Shia LaBeouf movie. I don't know. But it was cool to me, you know, and the thought of that. But there was a picture on a wall, basically, that he had pitched to me and everything else. And I thought, I don't want to make it one of those love story songs. So I thought about this old grandfather talking to it like an old black and white picture. And grandfather's talking to his grandson about him in the picture and his uncle or his brother, excuse me. And then it just ran away with this moonshining kind of thing. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but again, what we were talking about before is if you force it, you know, it's not going to come. But if you just let it, you know, because a lot of times I'll go into writing a song and say it's going to be this, and all of a sudden things start coming around everything else, and it changes the entire direction of that where that song is going. And if you let it, that makes you that much better of a songwriter, because I know you do this too, because one, you know, the quality of the song is better, I think, because you're trying to force something into a lane that maybe it doesn't want to go.
Right.
And you can table that idea for another time or whatever else. Now all of a sudden you got a brand new song of whatever this is, you know. So,
and the cool thing is like, I don't know, so far I haven't run out of, I don't know, there's always something. There's always some inspiration out there, and if you'll just let it cook for long enough until it like pours out. I always wonder if there'll ever come a time when I run out of songs to write. But it hadn't happened yet.
I look at, I know it's cliche to say it, and I hate saying cliche things, but if you look at just life every day, you can find something in life every day.
Yeah.
Somebody says something just in a Walgreens or something like that, and you're standing in line and you hear some line, and I was like, oh, that's a great line. I'm gonna write that down, you know. Since you did one for your mom, this is a brand new song that I wanted to do for ETX ROCKS. And I wrote this about my grandfather, who was in World War II, and he got hit in the head with some shrapnel, but he didn't pass. He stayed and fought and everything else, and then anyway, so this is for him. This is called Veterans Day, and I want this to be another one of those, you know, war songs for everybody.
Yeah.
Stationed with Company B, 144th Infantry. Way back when making soldiers and men, They never met a soldier like me. Spent 2 years in the war. See more like it's for. Black and blue from the fight that I drew. I never knew what the hell for. But I did my best to get back in the saddle, fight for the home of the brave. And I won the war when I lost half the battle, put me down in my grave. When the war broke back in 41, California life wasn't as fun. It was my time to enlist, full of vinegar and piss. Traded my job for a gun. I wrote my letters back home. The ocean's white foam. We touched down, put our boots on the ground, and the bullets started flying in Rome. And I did my best to get back in the saddle, fight for the home of the brave. And I won the war when I lost half the battle, put me down in my grave. I took bullets in the end, pulled my sails in the wind, spent my time on the front of their line, went back to enlist again. Lost my battle with cancer shortly after the war. But if I had my chance, I'd take the last dance and go right back in for some more. And I did my best to get back in the saddle, fight for the home of the brave. And I won the war when I lost half the battle, put me down in my grave. Put me down in my grave.
It's officially my favorite song of yours now.
Thanks, man.
I love it.
Awesome,
Cut it
man.
right
Thanks,
there.
man.
I'm going to, this is another song off the Hemingway album, so to let anybody who's not familiar know, the Hemingway album has 5 songs and a hidden track. And every one of those songs tells a story. And if you just listen to it by itself, you would not think those stories were related. But I co-wrote a book of short stories with a novelist buddy of mine who's from Texas but now lives in California. And if you read the short stories, you realize that those 5 songs, those stories are all one very big long tail.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to work on. It was a lot of fun to write. So this is one that, as you're listening to them, all of them are so different that it took a lot in the studio. So when we recorded this one in the studio, we literally had like 9-piece Cuban percussion and stuff going on. So the story is about a guy who falls in love with a woman who's a Cuban refugee, but she's married to one of the guys that works for him, and so it's a love that wasn't meant to be. And so the inspiration for it was a time when something similar had happened to me, and we had taken a break. We were supposed to wait a month and then get back together at the end and sort things out. And I had the whole house prepared. Had to put out the wine and the roses, and made dinner and everything, and I sat up all night long listening to a Tom Waits album, and she never came back. So I realized, I guess probably like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, that listening to Tom Waits while your woman is leaving you is probably a very, very bad idea. And so I sat there and I said to myself, "Are you sitting here listening to Tom Waits for no one?" And I went, "Oh crap! Now I gotta write a song about it too." So anyway, that's where this came from.
I took the battery out of the clock on the wall. That ticking was driving me crazy. I flicked an ash just before it could fall. Smoked so many, this whole room's hazy. There's 2 dinner plates out on the table, a meal that's burned black on the stove. I've spent hours rechecking my phone for a message, but I've given up any hope. And I'm solo tonight, a bottle of wine, 2 empty glasses, the linen's pressed fine. The stereo's on, and I sing along this sad, lonely song. Tom Waits for no one. It's been a month ago Sunday since she said she needed some time to reflect. I haven't seen her nor called her, though badly I wanted to, waited here with bated breath. And tonight was the night that she promised she'd make up her mind and be sure. Now I've wasted my time perfecting my lines for when she showed up at my door. And I'm solo tonight, a bottle of wine, 2 empty glasses, the linen's pressed fine. The stereo's on, and I sing along this sad, lonely song. Tom Waits for no one. I'm lonesome tonight, I'm out of my mind. There'll be no love in this bed made so fine. She waited so long as I carried on. I've come to my senses, but she's come and gone. The stereo's on, I sing along this sad, lonely song. Tom Waits for no one. Yeah, the stereo's on, and I sing along this sad, lonely song. Tom Waits for no one.
Like
That was brilliant. Brilliant.
That was a fun one to write. Yeah,
Man.
sitting there in the studio, we had like a horn section, and like this trumpet player just like blazing on the thing.
I was gonna say I could totally hear the trumpets in that.
Whatever. Well,
Great
dude,
Marty Robbins almost.
the freaking coolest thing happened is we recorded that album on an army base on Camp Mabry in Austin there. And so, like, members of the military, that's where the military bands get together to practice, right? There's a huge recording studio. And this guy came in, Ray Munoz, and he was a trumpet player. And they were like, "Hey, we're looking for a trumpet player. You wanna play on the album?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll do it." So he walks in, like his camo and everything. We've got, footage of the whole thing. And we played him that song, and he's like, "This needs a trumpet solo," and just like blazes one out. We're like, "Oh God, that's so freaking cool!" So yeah, it was just lucky accidents, man.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. No, I don't know. It's like we were talking about before. I think writing a variety of songs is what it's all about.
Yeah, it's great too when you are in a rut or whatever else. Just creative writing, because a lot of things come out just creative. Poetry or creative writing in general, just write whatever when it doesn't make sense whatsoever. And I've got numerous songs of just stuff, and melodically they sound great.
Yeah.
But people will ask me, "What the hell is that song mean?" I'm like, I got no idea. I got no idea, but it came out right.
It was creative vomit. I hope it sounds okay. That's cool though. So have you always written music the way that you do now, or did you start differently?
Yeah, that's a great question because I was always a poetry or lyrics first kind of guy.
Yeah.
And lately, in the past like year and a half, 2 years, it's been the opposite of that. Now it's been the melody comes first, and I'll write the words around a lot of stuff. And sometimes, I mean, I write constantly, so I'll go back and sometimes we'll just be playing something and find something lyrically that works, things like that too. So, what about you?
You do a lot of co-writing too, though, right? Don't you? You want a lot of guys.
When time allows, I've got a good friend in Nashville, Hope Cassidy, that I write a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
She's been on the ETX ROCKS Show, but I don't play many songs that I co-wrote. In fact, there only 2 songs ever made it on any of my records, which was Cherry Tree. I wrote that with Rebecca Joswick, excuse me, and Moonshire's Lament, which I wrote with Aaron Bentley. And other than that, I just do all the my own stuff, not for any reason other than just usually when somebody wants to co-write something, they've already got something in their head,
Right.
and I'll happily co-write with anybody, but usually it just doesn't. I don't know. Song doesn't fit what I'm trying to do sometimes or whatever else. So,
Yeah, it's I've got the weird thing about the way my head works with songwriting is I can usually hear the entire song in my head before anything ever comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And so then what I end up doing is playing catch up, trying to figure out, because I can hear it all going on, like full instrumentation, which is fun because like in that album we had string sections and horn sections, and I got to write all of that stuff and finally like get people together and say, and like work as a conductor and say, here's how I want it to go, how I wanted it to go. But the problem is I'm a crappy instrumentalist. I'm a really bad guitar player and a really bad piano player.
Sir.
And so, no, man, I envy people that can actually play this damn thing. But I end up playing catch up because I can hear it in my head, and then I just sit here and like painstakingly figure out, okay, what is it that you were doing in your head when you did that?
Yeah.
And so I end up recording on my phone most of my songs with the melodies and everything, and then coming back and going, okay, what was that?
Yeah.
So it's a weird way to do it, and it's mainly just because I should have paid more attention when I was learning my instrument.
The era of the cell phone is bad in a lot of regards, but not for songwriters.
Not for songwriters.
When you utilize that notepad and the recording tool on there, it's a great thing. 'Cause I do the same thing. I'll half the time when my girlfriend's like asleep or whatever else, and I got something that's burning in my brain, I don't want to wake her up. I'll just walk in the bathroom and just quietly speak into my phone or whatever else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've got. If anybody ever if I ever die and you find my phone, you find like lots of like 10-second recordings of me humming some melody or something that's going on, and none of it'll make any sense.
Yeah.
But by God, if I ever die, if you want to dig through and find a bunch of stuff, there's a whole bunch of. Just delete the pictures first. That's all I ask.
Well, I got after you played that one, I've got like 4 ideas for songs that I want to play right all of a sudden. But I might do that one last. I was gonna play One Bullet Left for Chris.
Yeah.
But since you did the Tom Waits song, you and I were talking about this song earlier. This is a song I wrote for this idea about Bob Dylan meeting the devil in Greenwich Village or whatever else. And the devil owns a bar somewhere else, and the devil wants to recruit him to come play in his bar versus the bar that he's playing.
That's a cool idea of a song. I love it.
I'm going to forget the third verse of the song because I do every single time. But
Thanks for the preface.
Yeah, hopefully nobody even catches that. So I'll do my best. It's called Dylan and the Devil. Well, he bought the ticket, took the ride. There were $20 bills right by his side. Tried to tell the truth, but I guess he lied. But it seems like he's doing alright. Well, he's been around the block a time or two. Found himself tangled up in blue, playing on a stage till they close at 2. And I wonder what he's playing tonight. Well, the devil pulls up in a bright red car, says you're the kind of man that needs to play in my bar. There's flames on the stage and a loaded tip jar, and in there you'd be doing alright. He's got one more show on broken strings, got no time to change those worn out things. Devil's in his head every time he sings, and I wonder what he's playing tonight. Well, the bar is called heaven, but it's not so nice. They traded fire water in for the ice. There's 20 damn bouncers, loaded dice in heaven's roadhouse tonight. There's a craps table standing where there should be pool. On a stage there's a microphone in front of a stool. It's 100 damn degrees, so it's nice and cool, and you know who's playing tonight. Well, the bar started screaming, they were knocked for more. They were knocking on heaven's door. Good night, they drew the curtains, they yelled encore in heaven's roadhouse tonight. I
Right?
totally did forget the third verse as well.
It's freaking awesome. God dang. I'm totally learning that song.
The imagery, man.
Oh, man. And tying in the lyrics like so perfectly. It wasn't forced. It was just, God dang it, Rob. That was cool. I have this dream, like one of these days, where I want to like make an album of my favorite songs from all my friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just for me. Like
Yeah.
really, just want to have it and say, okay, like these are the things that I think my friends have done that are exceptionally cool, and that's happening. That song's good. That was cool sounding. I better finish off with Hemingway since that album's coming out.
Yeah.
So, this song, I wrote this song while I was in Key West, which is the home of Ernest Hemingway, or one of the homes of Ernest Hemingway, the main one. And I was actually standing in his study when I wrote this.
Favorite writer?
No. Favorite book of all time was probably Wuthering Heights as far as fiction goes. I've read it more than probably anything else. I actually enjoy Hemingway more as the character he was and what he stood for than his writing per se. His writing is not the one that I'm going to go back and reread and reread and reread.
Sure.
But the guy that he was fascinates me.
Okay.
Because I see in him one of the things that I try and live out, which is give as much as you can to the world and take as much back as well. Like there's just a lot out there, and it's an extremely short life. So traveled as many places. I've been to 17 countries and 35 states now, and I'm just like constantly go, see what you can see and do what you can do. And so, and Hemingway was a lot like that. And then at the end of his life, he killed himself because he ran out of stories to tell, and he couldn't adventure anymore. He couldn't give anything back. He couldn't get anything from the world. He's like, I just don't want to do this. So anyway, and it all came together because my dad was a vet who got injured in the military. Chris, like we were talking about before with your dad. My dad got injured and broken his back, and they wouldn't cover his benefits, and he couldn't provide for us, which ended up leading him to a lot of depression and just feelings of worthlessness. And so when I was 10, he took his life. And so I sort of put all of this experience and these thoughts together into this song called Hemingway, and then I started this group called Operation Hemingway, where we raise money for veteran suicide prevention. And then that's where I do my personal volunteer work, is working with veterans and taking suicide calls. Just trying to do everything I can to try and save somebody like my dad.
Sure.
So that's what this album is about, and the proceeds from the sale of everything having to do with Hemingway, not the whole album, but the song, the book, all that kind of stuff, all goes directly to veteran suicide prevention. So this is that song.
John was a soldier from deep down in Florida. He turned 18 on Key West. The army would get him And as soon as they left, he signed on the line to enlist. They all called him Hemingway because he spent every day cussing and fighting and drunk. And Lord, he could tell you a story so well you get wrapped in the yarns that he spun. So Hemingway, tell us a tale of some great adventure of champions or fishermen, where girls that put wind in men's sails take us away. Hey, Hemingway. But on the day that he turned 19, that cursed IED took off his legs at the thigh. Mangled and burned up, but thankful it turned out the doctors at least saved one eye. They sent him home to his mom on the coast. They said, thanks for your service there, son. This Purple Heart is a medal to mark all the good for your country you've done. Through his personal hell, not a soul would he tell, too modest to speak of his pain. While innocent, ignorant, well-meaning friends of his said it would all be okay. So he just kept on swinging as each blow kept stinging, not sure how much longer he'd fight. And everyone asked him to tell us what happened that day he almost lost his life. So Hemingway, tell us a tale of some great adventure, the battles, the missions, the glory, and how you prevail. What do you say? Hey, Hemingway. Last Saturday night, as the vacancy sun beckoned to him from the road, with a bottle of bourbon and a month's worth of Percocet tucked in his camouflage coat, he reached for the Bible and he read for a while, but nothing much seemed to stand out. So in that little hotel room when the Gideons fell through, he took the Hemingway out. And Hemingway, tell us a tale of the young life they took from you, the darkness you're going through, how we and the whole world have failed there as you lay. Hey, Hemingway, there as you lay. Oh, Hemingway.
That's the one.
3 chords of the truth right there, brother.
That's 3
Dude,
chords of the truth.
that was beautiful, man. Seriously, that's a songwriter, storyteller song right there.
Yeah, man. That's
No doubt.
That's, you know, I wasn't gonna play that live for the longest time. It was like just a personal thing.
Yeah.
And then I had so many people say, "No, man, you never know who you might get to talk to or reach when you do that." And the toughest one I ever did was in St. Angelo because the military base is right there.
Mhm.
And there was a guy sitting right up in front, man, with his legs gone.
Oh man.
And I was like, "Man, I don't know if I can do this." And a friend of mine was there. She said, "No, they can take it. And they need to hear that you care enough to sing it." And I played it, and I swear to you, his buddies grabbed him, and 9 of them stood in front, side by side, in front of that stage.
Powerful moment.
And I just, dude, I lost it.
Yeah.
Just freaking lost it. Yeah. So anyway, I've been working on that for a while, and that's going to be, that'll be like a lifelong pursuit for me. Just continue to work on that. But yeah, that's where this whole album, and that's why I put so much freaking time into trying to make sure it's just right, you know, because it means a lot.
I can't wait to hear this thing, man. It's
Appreciate it, man.
that's seriously cool. You are one hell of a fantastic songwriter.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate
Seriously. Especially what you were saying earlier about all the songs kind of correlate together and everything else in some in a bigger story and everything else. I really want to hear all the
I will make sure you have an early copy.
Yeah, I would love that, man. Seriously.
Take us out, brother.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of writing my second book right now
Nice,
too. So
yeah.
you were talking about the book thing.
Yeah.
I'm about 43,000 or so words into
Yeah.
it. I think I'm gonna wrap it around 55 or so.
Yeah.
I think. But it's the first book was a lot of poetry and stuff that didn't make it into songs.
Yeah.
That were just balled up on the floor kind of stuff, and some pictures and artwork and things like that. But
Yeah.
this next book is going to be a lot of like long stories and
Mhm.
a lot of witty and crazy things that have happened in
Yeah.
me in life and everything else, with song lyrics tied into moments of where they were from,
That's
where they
cool.
were written from, and everything
Yeah.
else like that. So this song in particular, we talked about this earlier. One Bullet Left is going to be in there. Because this is probably the quintessential song of all those gunfighter songs that I write and everything else, you know.
Nice.
I don't know where that stuff comes from. I really don't.
Past life, brother.
So
Past life.
I'm not the biggest Western fan, but
Yeah.
I've watched some, your standard issue Tombstones and things
Yeah.
like that, But this song started out as more of a folky or just songwritery song, and when we got in the studio, One Bullet Left, I really wanted One Bullet Left to be a rock and roll record.
Mhm.
And so I was like, let's try it out with full guitars and everything. I said
Yeah.
it came out like great.
Yeah.
But this is how it originally started.
Cool.
This is called One Bullet Left.
Yeah.
Seen in the distance, the bastards are near, coming straight for you, intentions are clear. Shots started firing, 3:45 as you drop from the window and crawl on the floor. Grab all the guns, but now what do? You got one bullet left, and they're gunning for you. Shoot from the hip, hit one after one, but their numbers were growing as dark fades the sun. Smoke from the muzzles, cloud in the room, and the fire that they lit is now more than a plume. They burned down the front door, and now they are through. You got one bullet left, and they're gunning for you. Hound dogs are howling with blood in their eyes. Outside the window now only the cries. You hear all the footsteps running upstairs. The bullets break past you with guns in the air. And now in the doorway, you know they are near. There's no time for weakness and no time for fear. The doorknob is turning, they're 6 feet away. Now nothing can save you, no pardon today. Pull back the hammer, the trigger is true. You got one bullet left, and they're coming for you.
Love that. That's cool, man. Yeah, past life. Sorry,
Yeah.
you're an old West gunfighter in past life. Living out in a blaze of glory, man.
All right, so that was Songbirds and Troubadours #8 between Rob Redwine and Dan Johnson. Again, two of my favorite all-time songwriters anywhere on the planet. Both these guys know that I feel that way.
Thanks, man.
We're always, I'm always pushing their stuff on social media, and Both have records coming out this year, so I'm
Yeah.
super excited about that, and you guys will be able to figure out where you can follow along with them in just a second. But I do want to send our thoughts and prayers out to two people. One of them was actually mentioned here on the show tonight. Hope Cassidy, first of all, who has been diagnosed with cancer. I'm not sure the exact type of it, but I definitely want to send our thoughts and prayers out to you, Hope. We're there with you in your battle. And of course, Brandon Jenkins, the Red Dirt legend, is under the weather right now, fighting for his life in Nashville. So I just wanted to send all of our happy thoughts and prayers out to both Hope and Brandon and their families, friends, and fans. From us to y'all. We're thinking about y'all, and we're there with you. So just wanted to mention that. I know you mentioned Hope a little bit earlier on the show. Hope was on the ETX ROCKS Show late last year, and Rob helped make that happen. So it was awesome meeting Hope, and she's a hell of a songwriter in her own right as well. So anyway, getting back to Rob and Dan. Rob, where can folks follow along with you on social media?
The easiest place is www.robredwinemusic.com. That has everything there. It's got all my Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff there. But you can also go to Facebook and Twitter and Instagram.
It's got tour information on there?
Yeah, all of my shows, I try to keep that schedule pretty up to date.
Yeah, and as busy as you are, that's going to be tough just keeping
it
the
is,
schedule
as,
going.
as Dan
on
was
the
mentioning
webpage.
earlier, there's a lot that goes on with marketing yourself.
Yeah.
On the very rare time off that we get.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, just keeping up with our schedule too. I mean, always having to remember, hey, you need to put it in there so people know.
Yeah.
Because you can fall behind really
Oh, yeah.
quickly
Oh, yeah.
as
No doubt.
busy as we are. So it's robredwinemusic.com. And if there's a venue out there, there's a contact link on there for them to get in contact with you as well.
Yes,
That
yeah.
wants to book you.
Absolutely.
Very cool. And Dan, same question.
The easy, I always just tell people just Google Dan Johnson Music because
Okay.
my website will pop up first. That's danjohnsonmusic.us because .coms are all taken if you have a
Okay.
plain ass name like Dan Johnson. But if you'll Google Dan Johnson Music, you'll find my Facebook. I'm really active on Twitter, Instagram, and then through the website. And then Bands in Town, I post all my shows on Bands in Town,
Okay.
and people can keep up there.
So it's danjohnsonmusic.us.
Correct.
It has all the same stuff, tour information, contact link, and
Every
all
bit
that
of it.
stuff.
Yep.
Very cool. So you guys can follow along with both of these amazing songwriters on their web pages. You'll find all their social media on there as well. Now, both of these guys actually have albums available for sale too. So where would you guys send people out there to get your music? Where's your ideal spot?
That's a good question, man, because these days in the digital era, it's hard to say, but
Yeah.
you can certainly find it on the iTunes and the Amazons and the Google Plays and all of that stuff, as you can find Dan's. If the good thing is these days that they're starting to give songwriters a little bit more of a incremental push in the money as far as
Well, the laws are starting to
the
change.
streaming
Yeah.
services go,
Finally.
Spotify and things like
Right.
that, and so we're definitely out there on Spotify and everything else as well.
Cool.
That's what I normally do. Is if I find an album that I enjoy, I'll go and buy it, and I use Google. And a lot of people don't even put their music there, which kind of stinks. But
Yeah. I've noticed.
or go to
that,
go to Amazon, and I'll actually buy the album. But then when I'm listening to it, because I want to support the artist by buying their album.
Yes.
But then when I listen to it, I go back and listen to it on Spotify so that they'll continue to get stream plays there
Smart.
too. So
Yeah,
I
smart.
just kind of double dip and.
And we
really
do
support
the
as
kind
much
of the
as we
same thing here. Like a lot of
Yeah.
times, we're giving gifts of albums and stuff
Yeah.
from artists coming on the show, and we'll listen to them on Spotify instead of just straight from our phone.
Yeah.
So that percentage of a penny.
Yeah.
will go
And the other thing is that if this is one thing that people should always know is like click follow on everything.
Yeah.
So if you follow somebody
Yeah,
on Twitter, if you
definitely.
follow somebody on Facebook, if you follow them on
So
Spotify,
important,
the more
yeah.
followers you get, the higher they push you up, so people can see your music more easily.
Yeah, and people don't. I don't think people realize the dynamics in
Yeah.
place for that. The
Super
algorithms are
important.
designed that the more followers or subs that you have, the more eyeballs and ears that's going to reach.
Yeah.
Like even on YouTube, like you
Yeah.
click subscribe on someone's channel, you're elevating that channel just a little bit to be in the suggested videos more.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
And yeah, it's a big deal. That's why I always say if you like someone, click it. Whether
Yeah.
it's like, follow, subscribe, whatever it is. Wherever you're listening, whatever your platform
Yeah.
of choice is.
Well, and just click that quick little share button. Like if all
Right.
you do is like you're listening to something on YouTube or whatever, and you click share YouTube, Hey, you go to Facebook, whatever, and you're like, hey, I really dig this. You know, we'll get a few more people that might
Right.
find you that
Exactly.
way. You know, it's a tiny little thing that people that like original music can do to help
Absolutely.
out a lot.
Yeah.
Completely agree with all of that. And you're hearing it from the songwriter's mouth here, so you know it's true.
Careful.
Anyway, guys, this has been Songbirds and Troubadours number 8, man. Dan Johnson, Rob Redwine, unbelievable stuff. Definitely want to thank you guys for spending some time with us. Again, you guys have both been really, really humble to us over time. And again,
Absolutely.
we love these guys so much. And new music coming in 2018, so stay tuned for that. All right, so anyway, as we always say on this show, we want to thank you guys out there for always supporting live music of all genres and all styles, even songwriters. And don't ever forget.
ETX rocks.
That's right.
Howdy, folks. This is Aaron Watson.
This is Bree Bagwell.
This is Jake. And this is Walter from Rocky Queen.
This is Curtis Grimes.
Monty Pittman.
This is Doug Supernon.
I'm Heather Little.
This is Rob Redwine.
Ho! Hey, folks, I'm WWE Hall of Famer Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Hey guys, I'm Katie Lynn, and make sure to tune in to ETX Rocks with
Boston Chris.
Hello, y'all. This is Ronnie Millsap, and thanks for tuning in to the ETX ROCKS Show.
Tough guy. Ho!
Hey guys, we're Black Top Mojo, and thank you for tuning in to ETX Rocks.